up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm telling you guys about my top 3 sleeper draft picks
using nap time
for the Lions, well, in the 2020 draft. Let's get into it. I may update this as we go along, as we learn about new prospects, but right now, here are my top 3 right now. This could get a lot bigger. Some of these guys may actually come off the list. We'll have to wait and see, but right now, here are my 3. Now, this may look a little bit different. I don't know if there's any editing differences or whatnot. The reason, hold up, let me, okay, stop. Okay, I'm not sure where the chain went. Okay. I didn't put any videos up yesterday. Obviously, it was Christmas, so I didn't get any videos up yesterday. And, today there could be some differences. I got a computer, so that's awesome. So, I got to change some things around. I'm going to try maybe to edit and stuff like that, some different ways. So just keep an eye out for that. If things are a little bit wacky to start off with, just keep it in mind. I'll do the best I can to keep it, understandable, like what the heck's going on. But let's just get into these draft sleepers. So coming in at number 3 is Tanner Muse, who is a safety out of Clemson. And he is actually the teammate of Isaiah Simmons, obviously, right? And they play alongside of each other a lot of times. But Isaiah Simmons is the guy that everybody talks about, right? Everybody talks about Isaiah Simmons as a top 10 draft pick that's going to go super high. And he's rightfully going to get talked about like that because he is that talented. And if you want a guy that great at that position that can play linebacker and safety, move around, cover tight ends, cover wide receivers, then you got to get at Isaiah Simmons. But if you want a sleeper, a guy that you are going to wait on, that you may get in day 3 of the draft, Tanner Muse could be that potential fit. And he's plays strong safety for Clemson, and he's definitely not Isaiah Simmons, right? He can't do all the roles that he can. Tanner Muse is basically just a safety, but he is one of those guys that could definitely help benefit your secondary. And as we know, our secondary, it's not, I wouldn't say our secondary is that bad. It's kind of hard to judge where our secondary is because we don't get pressure. So it's kind of hard to judge whether or not they're just terrible or we just don't get pressure and that makes them look terrible, right? I don't exactly know where we are there. But he's a 6'1" safety who has had a pretty productive career, but it's been quiet because of who he's been with, right? Obviously, if you're with a guy like Isaiah Simmons, you're not going to get talked about as much. Now, he hasn't had the same numbers as Isaiah Simmons, don't get me wrong, and it's been later in the season where he started to come on as a player that started to really get talked about. But Tanner Muse is one of those guys who moves around as a safety, almost like a linebacker. This guy can get up near the line. He moves around prior to the snap. He sees where everything's going. He looks for the runner, and he's just one of those guys that are... We know how Matt Patricia likes to use the safeties. Let's be honest here. He likes to move his guys around. I mean, he likes to move the guys up to the line. He likes to do a lot of weird things with them. And I think Tanner Muse is one of those guys that can't play linebacker like Isaiah Simmons can. He's only 6'1". He's not a big giant like Simmons is, but he can also cover. And with his ability to cover and move around and follow the running back and tackle well, he's one of those guys that you wouldn't think of because of his teammates. I mean, this happens all the time. You get teammates that you don't think of. No one really thought of Austin Bryant because of Clemson's defensive line with Colin Farrell. Well, we get Austin Bryant, and we haven't really seen him much this season, but hopefully next year he can show us why he was a steal. And I think Tanner Muse could be one of those guys that you just don't hear a lot about, but he's a good pick. He's a good pass rusher out of the safety position, which is pretty much important because we don't rush very well anyways, and when you do send the blitz, we need to make sure they get the tackle, okay? He has 7 tackles for loss in his career. He's not a bad player. He made the 2018 All-ACC preseason football team. Okay, so he's a solid player, and I think he'd be good for the Lions, especially with the safety help that we may need. He comes in number 3. Coming in at number 2, KJ Hamler. Now, KJ Hamler is an interesting one because I know a lot of you guys actually like KJ Hamler. When I do a Madden series, you're always like, oh, draft KJ Hamler. Well, we're going to be talking about him in today's video because he is a sleeper pick for me. Why is KJ Hamler a sleeper pick? Well, he's obviously, I think he's going to go a little bit later than most players are, and he's one of those guys that at the wide receiver position, we could use some depth there. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have depth. Now, is this a big need like it is defensively? Heck no. Or offensively? No. Or offensive line, I should say? No. But this is a guy that I think that could come in and potentially be like your 3rd or 4th string wide receiver. Look, they should bring back Danny Amendola last year, but it is the Lions, so let's be honest here. Are we 100% certain they're going to make the right move and bring back Amendola? No. They may not. They should. They may not. So, even if they do, you have Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay. Marvin Jones is getting a little bit older, right? You have Kenny Golladay. You have Danny Amendola, who, yes, even though he was really good this year, is still getting older. And then you could have a guy like KJ Hamler to be your next wide receiver, who could potentially be that next slot, because right now your slot is Danny. And when it's not, Marvin Hall kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you would have a really good slot wide receiver here in KJ Hamler that I think you should take a look at. And now, if it takes like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, then I wouldn't take him because I think that's too early. But anything later than that, I can see definitely going after a guy like this on day 3. 5'9", so he's going to be limited pretty much to the slot wide receiver position. You don't find a lot of 5'9" outside wide receivers. It just doesn't happen a lot. So if you do draft him, he probably will be inside. And obviously, you can't work on his growth. You can't make him any taller. But he is very, very quick, okay? Very quick wide receiver out of Penn State. And that's one thing that that really helps out. We don't have a lot of explosive speed. Marvin Hall showed some speed this season, and obviously that helped him out because he got open a ton. A guy like KJ Hamler could be very similar. He's good in the inside routes, the short routes, which obviously Matthew Stafford would love to have a quick guy like that. Not Golden Tate, but similar. I mean, there's similarities there, right? They can play the slot, and I'll take a play the outside. Tate was something special. But, I mean, Hamler, at least in the slot position, he's a small wide receiver. He's quick. He's pretty reliable when it comes to catching the ball. He's good at making routes, right? He's good at running routes. Good at decelerating, stopping on a dime. It's all that stuff. He's just not a very good, he can't play on the outside. He's not a very active blocker, I guess I would say, because he's 5'9", 175 pounds. Let's be honest. What do you expect from him? But I think he's one of those guys that if you get later, he could be very helpful and add some production to the passing game. He comes in at number 2. And finally, coming in number 1 is Malik Harrison out of Ohio State. Yes, I hate Ohio State, and I hate to say this, but he could be a very good player for the Detroit Lions. Now, he plays off the ball sometimes, so, he just moves around a little bit at middle at linebacker, but as a linebacker, he looks very similar to Jarrad Davis. If you watch him, he looks very similar to Jarrad Davis in his play style. But maybe he does it a little bit better than Jarrad Davis because as we know, Jarrad Davis hasn't been great. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been great. Malik Harrison is a senior, so he's been through what all he's been through. 4 years of this at Ohio State. And even though his first year obviously he didn't play much. In his next couple years, he was really good. Look at 2017, 36 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 tackles for loss. Excuse me, that would have been crazy, okay? 2018, 81 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for loss, and an interception, 4 pass deflections. 2019, 61 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, 3 pass deflections, 2 fumble recoveries. Guy has some good numbers, but he plays like Jarrad Davis. You know how you see Jarrad Davis kind of like walk around before the play? Sometimes he does some wild stuff, and he just kind of stands there, and all of a sudden he runs at the quarterback. A guy like Malik Harrison plays very similar to that. Now, he's not the best athletically. He's not a crazy athletic linebacker. That's the only thing that deters me away a little bit, but at the same time, you're not going to get everything. If he had everything, he did everything perfectly well, then he's not a sleeper because he's going to go in the first round. That's where you get first round talent. If you trade back, if you wait till 4th round, the 5th round, you're going to get guys that have things to work on. So Malik Harrison, he's not perfect. He's not perfect. He's not super athletic. He's not the most agile player, but he can play very similar to Jarrad Davis plays right now. And I think with his size, I think it'd be nice. I think it'd be nice to go with Jarrad Davis. And who knows, maybe he could potentially be his replacement as a later round pick. Like I said, though, you're not going to get a guy that's athletic like a Devin Bush was or a Devin White was, but that's because they were top 10 picks. This man is not going to be a top 10 pick. That's the thing. He just doesn't have that agility, but he has the other things. He has the awareness. He has the skills. He's been playing for 4 years at college, so he has had the opportunity to show what he can do, and he's shown us what he can do. He's a big linebacker, okay? He's probably going to add more pounds. He's like 240 pounds right now. He's good on his profile. His metrics look good. The only thing is he's just not super agile. But other than that, plays very similar to Jarrad Davis, and for Matt Patricia's scheme, I think he would fit right into the role. He could be a guy that replaces Jarrad Davis at some point. He's not Jelani Tavai. He's not as good as Jelani Tavai, and I don't think he will be as soon as he comes in. But as we know, Jelani Tavai looks like our best linebacker right now, and I think he will be in the future. A guy like this could go along with Jelani Tavai, or at least work behind Jarrad Davis because there are injuries, and you always need to have second linebacker, especially when you play a defense like we do, that weird hybrid. You need all these linebackers. A guy like Malik Harrison could do that. He can rush off the edge. He can do it all. Obviously, his tackles for loss speak for themselves. He plays off the ball, like I said, so he can blitz. He can play a run stopper. He knows where to go when it comes to covering the pass coverage, playing in the zone. He knows what to go, what to do. Just not the most athletic. I mean, come on. He knows what he's supposed to do. He's like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. But I may not get a pick because I'm not super athletic. But as long as you're there, I guess that's better because you do need a guy that's smart. And I think of a guy like Malik Harrison. Yes, even though he's from Ohio State, he does show some smarts. And yeah, I think he'd be a nice fit for the Lions. I think he'd be potentially a late pick that we can make as a rotational linebacker. Because as you know, once you get to like the 4th round and beyond, it's really nice to just find a piece that can impact at all, okay? Because a lot of times you get guys that don't impact at all. Travis Fulgham didn't impact much this year. Ty Johnston, let's be honest, not really. He didn't have much of an impact this year. Those are later round picks. Austin Bryant, obviously, unfortunately, with the injury. Amani Oruwariye, he was awesome. He's going to have a big impact. But still, it took a while in the season. This guy, if he can have an impact in any way, shape, or form, that'd be awesome. He comes in number 1. Let me hear your thoughts, comments below. Before I get out of here, make sure you guys, if y'all want to hit the subscribe button. I mean, you can, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're watching and you're just like, oh, I like this video, I want to subscribe, then do it. I mean, it's right down there. I mean, you might as well. I'm just saying it's free. So you don't get a lot of free things in life, and this is one of those things. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, because every time I upload a video, you can watch it for free, and you just know it's there. Otherwise, you wouldn't know it's there. You might forget about it. Don't forget about me, please. Also, let me know in the comments how your holiday was. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.